All right, let's have a good time. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's Dr. Michael Romenesko. I'm joined, as always, by Megan Conger. And today we have with us Steve Noack. Steve works for Comet Burs. He's been with Comet Burs for a long time. Comet Burs is the leading manufacturer of dental rotary instruments in the world. So, Steve, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. Where were you today?
Was at some offices in Oshkosh, and then had a customer in Wauwatosa who's got to cut off an Emax crown tomorrow.
Okay.
So we were talking about our ZR diamonds earlier. And I dropped off a couple for him to try.
Yeah, awesome.
So
awesome. He'll love those things. So I mean, one of the things that we want to kind of get across in this episode is basically bring all of our people up to speed on who Comet is. I think a lot of you guys have pretty good name recognition in the dental industry, but maybe a little bit of history on where Comet came from.
Originally, the company was founded in Dusseldorf in 1923. Then they, during World War II, after World War II, that Dusseldorf got decimated, and they had to start over, and he picked Lemgo, Germany, which is about 2 hours south of Dusseldorf in the middle of nowhere. And when I got to go see the plant about 8 years ago, I asked my friend Klaus, who runs the company, how did he pick this place? There's just cornfields around here. And he said, if there's ever another war, he doesn't want to start over again. So
Nice.
it's kind of cool. We stayed at the house, the little Cape Cod, where the Brasser family lived on the premises when we were there for the tour of the company. So really neat stuff. So third generation family owned.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's we were talking before you got in the room, Megan, about and before we started recording, about one thing that I really like about Burs is it's very, very easy to try. You know, you're not investing a ton of money. And I was telling Steve that when IDS got started and I had one of my ordering assistants kind of, like, we're going to start looking at these prices. We want to make sure that we're paying something that's fair. And if there's other things out there, I'm willing to try other things. I'm trying not to be, closed-minded. And
Open.
And we had worked with Steve and Comet and Colin, and we're starting to get that, the agreement in place with Comet and with IDS. And anyway, so I was starting to use some of your Burs, and one of my ordering assistants came in and said, "Hey, I was looking at Burs, and I know you really like those 557s. You use a lot of those." He's like, "I found some that the price is gonna blow your mind," and I don't think she knew like exactly what kind of margins we're talking about and what we spend on, in terms of in dentistry. And she's like, "We're talking hundreds of dollars saved a year." And I was like, "Man, this is great." And so I'm like, "Bring them here and let's see them." And I was telling Steve, they came in it was a Ziploc bag.
No way.
The yellow and blue make green.
Yeah.
And I put one in, fired it up, and I was telling Steve, I'm like, I think I could cut a tooth better with a spoon than I could with this. So it's not all Burs are created equal. Yes, and it's amazing to me because when you're looking at them and you're holding them in your hand, I can't tell. I mean, under magnification, under loop magnification, I can't tell. It's not until I put it in the handpiece and fire it up, and I'm like, this cuts really well, or this cuts like crap.
So you've experienced Comet Burs. You're using them in your
Yep.
practice. Steve, what would you say you hear from your doctors with regards to what's different about them?
I think my customers like the fact that it makes their job a little bit easier. Dentistry's a tough job. You're leaning over all the time. You got the drill running. You're working inside of a tiny oral cavity. And any way they can make it a better experience for themselves and for the patient, that's what they're looking for. And I think our Burs, and we get into it, I can give you a few examples, but we can make their life a little bit easier. And that's my goal.
Yeah.
If I can save them time, save them some money, and give it a better patient experience, that's what I'm here for.
And one of the things that we say a lot in dentistry, we say millimeters are miles. Every dental student's heard that a bunch. When you're talking about working on a patient, I always feel like seconds are minutes. So if you've got a burr that doesn't cut well, or you have to do 50 passes to get it the way you want it, those seconds feel like minutes to the patient. and to you, the dentist. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we talk time management's important, but cutting efficiency is huge, not just for time management, but also for the health of the tooth. You know, there's a reason we're blasting water on those teeth. And if you're sitting there with something dull, you're heating that tooth up, you're going to have problems.
Exactly. And so a lot of our innovative products, we have unique products because, like you said, some people think that a burr is a burr. It's a commodity, and it's not. And one of the examples is our Q finishing carbide burrs for finishing composite fillings.
That's the blue and yellow stripers?
Correct, blue and yellow stripes. So easiest way to explain it is that they're pressure sensitive. If you use more contact pressure, they're going to trim more composite. Then you switch to a feather light brush stroke, and they leave a super smooth surface. Normally in finishing carbides, we talk about red, yellow, white, 8 blades, 16 blades, 30 blades. The Q finishers will cut like the red, the 8 blades, but they'll leave a smoother surface than the yellow 16 blades in one burr. So in essence, they do the work of 2 burrs in one.
All based off of your pressure.
Pressure sensitive, exactly.
And RPMs too?
RPMs are not quite as, they usually go 60 to 80,000. The Germans say 20,000. My customers have told me consistently 60 to 80,000. The big thing is the pressure.
Okay.
Pressure sensitive. And they got a special cross cut toothing that gives them the pressure sensitivity.
Are your burrs clearly marked? What is the recommended RPMs to be using?
All of our packages come with the optimal speed and the maximum speed.
Okay.
Now, on our little chiclet boxes that some of the burrs come in, the high-speed burrs, it'll say a less than a certain speed on the back.
Okay.
But like our lab burrs, our polishers will all say optimal speed 6,000, maximum 10,000.
Yes.
We've tested everything. And we also have brochures that'll give you the recommended speed too.
Excellent.
Okay, so as you guys are talking about all this specific burr information, I can't help but wonder, how did you get into this?
Well,
That's a great question.
I was selling advertising at the time, and my boss she was kind of difficult. Some people call her the queen of mean, but I learned a lot from her. And my wife saw a little ad in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for a leading international dental company, and my father-in-law, he was working for ADEC at the time. And I didn't even know what Brasser was. I had no idea. And I said, what do they do? And he said, they make burrs. And I said, well, what's a burr?
Sure, yeah.
He said, well, it's a drill bit. And they're either tungsten carbide or diamond. But don't say tungsten, just say carbide, or they're not going to know you don't know what you're talking about.
Why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. People just call them carbide burrs. You never hear tungsten.
I've never heard, yes.
You never heard tungsten.
But when I was researching Comet, that came up, though. Tungsten carbide, and I was like...
Yeah, so funny.
I interviewed for the job, and I got it, and it's a great company. And that's when I got to know, like, Klaus Rubezamen, who runs our company for the Brasser family. At the time, he was the export manager for Comet out of Germany, and he would come over to like the Chicago midwinter, and if a customer came up to the booth from like Argentina and they would recognize, they'd Brasser, and I'd say Komet, and we'd say, yeah, same company. You'd have them talk to Klaus to find out who our dealer was in their country.
Wow.
Now Klaus is he's on the board of directors. He's running the company now. So I've known some of these German colleagues for 29 years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it. And I wasn't really looking for a job. My wife said, maybe you should look for a job. You're not that happy. I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty happy, I guess.
Yeah.
So
how do you guys find something like a burr is so specific, and doctors have their favorite burrs that they use? How do you find teaching a potential new practice about Comet? How do you transition in? How do you find ways to bring them to start to purchase from Comet? How does that piece work?
Well, a lot of times I'll go over different crown prep margin designs and what we have found to be the most successful, like a chamfer or modified shoulder for all ceramic crowns, which is 90% of the market now. And we'll talk about that and the difficulty of cutting a modified shoulder versus cutting a chamfer prep, and which sizes are the most popular based on, like Ivoclar, Vivadent that makes the Emax material. What do they want? They want a millimeter to margin. So I'll show them which diameter will give you that millimeter to margin. Mm-hmm. You start talking about that, see how comfortable they are with how coarse the burrs are, because they come in different grits, the diamond burrs. Find out what they're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And that's a good way to start. And then I try to streamline it. You know, I know when they get out of school, a lot of times they want to use a lot of burrs, but I try to get them down to a finite amount to save them time and money.
Yeah.
So being a part of Marquette, I'm just curious, is Comet in Marquette?
Yeah, they use all of our burrs there. My mentor for my whole career has been a guy named Dr. Ken Waliszewski. And he used to run the pre-clinic Crown and Bridge there. And when I started in 1991, God bless him, I didn't know what a burr was. And he sat down with me for many a days to explain things to me. And he had the patience of a saint. So that's how I started with Marquette, is through Dr. Ken Waliszewski.
Is he still there? Is his son still there?
No, Dr. Ken, Mike is not there, his son, but Dr. Ken teaches in graduate prosthodontics, I think, on Tuesdays.
Okay.
I see his emails.
The son was, I think, in school with my brother, and then was, I think, a pros resident when I was in dental school. But
gotcha.
Yeah, that's a great name and great family. That's cool.
I'm lucky to know him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My goal is someday. His wife is from Germany, so my goal is to go with Dr. Waliszewski and his wife and my wife and I to Germany to see the plant. He would just love it.
I heard that if he's watching this, I bet he would take you.
Well, I don't know.
Let's make that happen.
Christine,
make that happen.
Anyways, so I was lucky, fortunate to get to know him, and he kind of steered me through the years and basically taught me just about everything I know.
Wow.
Now, you guys do, apart from general dentistry, you do a lot of surgical burrs, and
we've got some great surgical burrs. One of my favorites is the H254E. I know I'm getting kind of specific here, but about 4 years ago, the Germans showed us a video of this surgical burr, the H254E. It's thin, cuts straight down, and cuts sideways with very little chatter, so it's easier on the patient. And they showed a video of it cutting through a tooth sideways, like a hot knife through butter. I'm like, I'm going to sell that burr. I think last year I sold maybe 3,000 of them.
Wow.
And that comes 26 and 31 millimeters long, so 31 for the impacted wisdom teeth, 26 millimeters for most of the general dentists. But the general dentists and the periodontists love that burr because it's easier on the patient. It cuts with very little chatter. One guy even emailed me, no chatter. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to say that too much.
Yeah.
But we make other surgical burrs too. Our new focus is on endodontics.
Sure.
And we are waiting for FDA approval on a German handpiece that gives you the real-time location of your rotary files in the canal on a 7-inch color screen.
Oh, wow.
It's got gold contacts that run through it. And the gold contacts relay the signal from the file to the apex locator. It's also got a hand apex locator. And then what you'll be able to add, if you want in the future, is a down pack and backfill and an ultrasonic. It's got ports for that too if you want. We're gonna.
Who's making? Who's?
Wow.
It's manufactured by a company called Schlumbaum. It's called EndoPilot, and he's out of Germany. We've already introduced it in Germany and France, and it's been very successful over there. So, one thing I can tell you, dealing with a German company for 29 years, is we may not be the first to come out with some, but when we make it, it's good. I was lucky enough once to be involved in a new product development. It's for our oscillating segment disc system, which is for interproximal enamel reduction for ortho. And one of my customers, Dr. Jerry Gildner, we wanted to come out with some contact breakers. And what's nice about these discs is they oscillate 15 degrees back and forth, so they're a lot safer than a diamond disc, which goes 360, and they're a lot faster than using the strips and easier on the patient. So we started with 72 discs, I think, to choose from. And we narrowed it down. It took a year and a half. And finally he said, this is what I want. This is what I want for the contact breakers. And I said, good, I'll tell him. And then the German said, well, we want one more test before we go to serial production. He's like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, that's how they do things.
Wow.
So sometimes people will ask me, when are you going to have something? I'll say September. Because I honestly don't know until I have it in my hand. But I can tell you when they come out with it, it's going to be tested.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Yeah. When we first started meeting with you guys, when IDS started meeting with Comet, and Jordan and Brian, who aren't from the dental space, they're like, Comet reached out to us, and I'm like, I referred you guys as like the BMW of Burs. Mm-hmm. There's a lot, like we were talking about before, there's a lot of you can always get something cheaper, right? And Steve and I were talking. There's coupon patients out there who want the $50 cleaning with the free whitening, and then there are coupon dentists. You can go find a coupon dentist, and what I like about Comet, it's great. I mean, like we're talking, it's not the cheapest burr, but it's great value for your dollar, and it's fantastic.
Well, and if the patient experience is improved and efficiency is improved, then it's a win-win.
My life is improved. My daily, it's big. One question I wanted to ask you, because in terms of burr reps, you're the only one I've ever really talked with.
Well, that's because I'm old.
And you've bet, yeah. Yeah, you were saying he's known my dad for 29 years.
They were on Mead Street.
Yeah, and
your uncle.
Yes, and
your dad coached soccer.
Yes,
he coached you.
He did. Yes, and you. Yeah, jeez.
Hey, he knows both of our dads.
Yeah, I know it's
Dr. Gary Conger, knowing him too.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in the Matrix right now. I forgot what I was going to say, Steve.
Knowing reps, burr reps.
Oh yeah. This is what I was going to say. So you guys, you guys have a lot of great products, and every time you come in and you show me a product, I usually try it, and I would say most of the time, I end up liking it enough that I continue to buy it, and it makes practice easier. So that's a great thing. And but one thing I struggle with Burs, and your company is no different, is that there's so many options. So when you're sitting there sifting through and being like, I don't even know you don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I should be trying. So having you come in has been really helpful to show me. And what I'm curious about is, if you took a Comet rep from a different market and you compared what his docs or her docs were buying in terms of burrs compared to do you think that you guys sell most of the same burrs? Do you know what your hot items are? Are they hot because of you, or are they hot because they work?
No, they're consistently popular. When I bring out my sample wallets, like my diamond and carbide wallet, it's 4 huge pages, probably, 400 burrs there.
Yeah. And
out of those 400 burrs, it's the old 80-20 rule. 80% of our sales come from 20% of the product. We, especially during this COVID break, we had some great webinars. One of them was with Dr. Alan Atlas, who's a prosthodontist out of Philadelphia. Does a lot of research. He works at the University of Penn, too. And he was talking about modified shoulder diamonds being the most successful prep for all ceramic crowns based on the research that he's read. Mm-hmm. Things like that. I mean, that's invaluable to see that. We had another webinar with Dr. Kim. She's known as the disking queen. And she used to be with BioClear, and she was showing us the Q finishers, how she uses them with the pressure sensitive.
Yeah.
She was showing us our H34L burr, which is green and black stripes on it. It's a metal cutter / amalgam remover, how she uses that to take out every amalgam, how well it cuts. So you get some really good training. I was lucky. I got good training at Brass USA, and I've got some good training at Comet USA too.
And as the market changes too, as I guess the industry changes, where when I first started practice, everything was a PFM, and now we're into zirconium and zirconia crowns, and there's as you're doing those now, you need to cut access openings into those to treat them. You need to cut them off sometimes, and the ZR burrs. You said, how old are those things? Because those things are awesome.
I think they're probably about 8 years old. So our ZR diamonds are made with a special bonding process to bond the diamond particles to the stainless steel blank.
Okay.
And so they don't come off as quickly when you're grinding on zirconia or Emax. So we make some round ZR diamonds for endo access through a zirconia or Emax crown, and then we make some for cutting slots into them or cutting the whole crown off if you have to.
Because when you came into my office with that saved, there's nothing worse than trying to cut through one of those crowns when you don't have the right tool.
Sure.
Oh, my God.
I had a doctor who I've known my whole career, and he called me up. He's like, I had to cut off an Emax crown yesterday. I went through 5 diamonds. I should have listened to you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, as sales reps, we do know a thing or two.
Right.
All right. And he's like, yeah, give me some of those ZR crown cutters. And I said, you're going to save time and frustration, and think about the patient. They don't want to be in the chair all day either.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right.
Very true. I have to share with you. So the first time that I remember seeing Steve in an office, you were sitting in this back like consult room, and it was like your treasure chest, right? Of all the all of these Burs, and you had everything out, and it was a different experience for me from a sales rep standpoint, because he's in there and he's all spread out and he's got all these things out, and there's a lot of choices and decisions to make on what Bur to use and how to utilize them, and you were in there just educating the dentists on what would be best, and it was a fun experience for me.
Well, I like selling for Comet because you can believe in the product. You can, one of my customers once said to me, Steve, working for Comet, you don't have to say you're sorry. You don't have to apologize for the quality. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about it. I believe in what I sell. And I know this company, and, if we ever had something that didn't perform the way it should, and there's a problem, we want to hear about it. We send it back to Germany for analysis, and the customer gets credit.
Yeah.
So there's not too many family-owned companies left like this anymore.
No.
And I was really looking forward to the Chicago Midwinter this year because when I started with Comet, we had a little 10x10 booth on the last aisle, which I call the Broadway of Broken Dreams. And we were the last booth on the Broadway of Broken Dreams for 7 years. Yeah, we had nothing but totes and toilets down there. And this year, we're going to go to, our plan was, we bought a new 20x20 booth. And we were just going to be a couple aisles away from Brasser USA, and they were going to have a 20x22. So that's how we've grown. And
you've made it.
And I like to see, that's exciting to me, just to see that growth.
You should be proud of that.
Absolutely, man. And
it's not just, it's Comet, but it's also you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of sales reps. There's not very many sales reps that are as personable and as, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. It's been tremendous.
This is, these are my friends that I'm dealing with here, and hopefully all of our Comet reps look at it that way. We're being family owned. We're not a huge company, but yet during this COVID, we got a PPP loan. We all took salary cuts, and we didn't have to lay anybody off. That was my goal. I don't want to see anybody lose a job.
But you bring up an interest. I'm curious how. I was going to ask you this too. How has the pandemic affected? Obviously, a lot of people know how it affects you, the sales rep, going in and being able to educate and meet with the dentist. But from just like the manufacturing perspective, have things, did you guys slow down for a while? Did you maintain consistency? Because you guys are all over the world, right?
Our German plant stayed open, but they took time off. They reduced their work schedules because demand was down.
Sure.
So, and then all of a sudden in July, when things started opening up, it was gangbusters, as you know, making up for that pent-up demand. And what I found is July, August, and September, usually when it slows down because the kids are going back to school, September was gangbusters.
Sure.
And compared to what it usually is.
Right.
So we have, I think last month we had a really good month. We were like 1% above last year. And given COVID, that's astonishing.
Yeah.
But we've got big plans. We want to double the size of this company in the next 5 years. And with the endodontics, we're going to do CE seminars. We've got some CE. You
guys do, yes. Talk about your CE, because I didn't know you guys
did. We don't have it yet, but we're going to. And one of the doctors that we have that's going to speak for us is Dr. John Olmstead, the former president of the AAE. Dr. Chris Cook, endodontist out of Louisville. I'm trying to line up my friend Dr. Joe de Guzman, who you might know. He teaches part-time at school. He's out of Milwaukee. Yeah, so we want to do CE seminars. Hopefully, when this COVID calms down, we can start doing them. We're hoping maybe next spring, next summer. And what I've done in the past is I usually work with a dental lab, and we'll have 25, 30 docs in there for hands-on. That's awesome. My goal. And we've got new technology called Reflex Technology. So with this EndoPilot handpiece I mentioned earlier that gives you the real-time location of your rotary files, we have a file called Procodile. The Procodile is a reciprocating file, like the Wave 1. But when you use it in the EndoPilot handpiece, it doesn't always, it cuts like a rotary file. It keeps rotating counterclockwise, and it only reciprocates when it needs to. We call it the reflex motion. it constantly measures the stress on the file at 3 points, 3 millimeters, 8 millimeters, and 13 millimeters. The EndoPilot does. And if it needs to, it'll take the appropriate action.
An auto reverse?
Well, it's called the reflex. So it depends on where the stress is. Let's say the stress is by the tip, which usually is the case, right? The tip's going to bind. It does a short pause, a reflex pause, and then it does one or more reflexes, small, short, reciprocating backwards movements until the stress is reduced to the appropriate level. Then it starts cutting rotary again.
Oh, wow.
Versus a regular reciprocating file, which is going to do a 150-degree cut and then 30 degrees back, 150, then back 30, 150, then back 30. It takes 3 of those rotations to just go around once.
Right.
We wanted to combine the advantage, the cutting efficiency of a rotary file with the safety of a reciprocating file. That's
Clever.
what we're doing with that.
Clever. And what did you say you could think the
Well,
the
we've
season
got the
come?
files now, the crocodile files. With COVID, we're hoping to get FDA approval by the end of this year, early next year. Hopefully we can launch it around New Year's.
Awesome. So I mean, this has been fantastic. I mean,
Thanks for having me.
What I love about you guys is that there's always something new on the horizon, and would love it if you'd come back, especially once once everything gets rolling with the endo systems that you guys are bringing to the market. Even just what I like about you is that you let me know what I should be knowing. So come by my office, fill me in on what, because you get caught up in the day, and then you're like,
sometimes
I use these things, and then he comes in and he's like, have you tried this? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
I like setting up appointments because unlike a dealer rep, and I've got a lot of friends that are dealer reps, but they have typically there's more of them. I'm it for Wisconsin, so I cover the whole state. So I do like setting up appointments because then it makes sure I'm going to get to Appleton that day, or you know what I mean. I can get pulled in different directions. And I'm willing to help anybody out.
There you go. So I'm hearing you need to set up an appointment.
Yeah, that's how I'll do it.
I wasn't going to say it, but I was kind of hitting at it. And this is a very fair
I set up this appointment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Nailed this one.
No, it's a great company. It's my honor to work for them. I hope to retire from these guys. I tell my customers, look, I can't just send you a free product, but if you place an order, and there's something else you want to try, we can put a few extra Burs on there for you to try. Not a problem.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you.
No, it's been fun.